All right, welcome everybody. Today we're talking about a new agile method to industrial project execution to help energy customer adapt to challenging market conditions. Our guest, Brendan Spencer, is the president of ABB Energy. Welcome, Brendan.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today.
Thank you. Now I've just attended the launch of Adaptive Execution. Can you tell our audience what is different about Adaptive?
Yeah, look, adaptive execution is an end-to-end solution for how we're going to deliver projects globally. And so I think if you look at what's different for us, the first thing that I'd say is the breadth of portfolio that ABB has, which this solution ultimately impacts. So we're not just focused on the automation side or the digitalization side. We're also focused into electrification, telecoms, infrastructure, all the areas across ABB. So I think the first thing is the breadth of the impact it can have on a customer's project. The second thing I would say that is a little bit different is that we're not just looking at technology and what it can enable in execution. It's about people, it's about processes, it's about infrastructure and technology. And so it's trying to bring together all of those four pillars to have an impact. And then the last thing I'd say is that we're not so egotistical to think that everything has to be an ABB solution. There are other companies out there, and our customers have other installed solutions and systems from other vendors. So we're trying to see what can we do in a non-proprietary environment of how we put these things together in order to recognize the ecosystem that we operate in. So I think those are a couple things that make adaptive execution a bit unique on the market.
Thank you for the insights and the four pillar in people, process, technology, and infrastructure. I like that infrastructure component as well. You know, the decoupling of the hardware from the traditional hardware and software in a typical automation system.
Correct.
Now, I wanted to zero in on ABB is awesome for large company. You wanted to zero in on how small of a customer can be a fit for adaptive execution. What's a sweet spot there?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, is that there is scalability, because what we're trying to solve is the interface management, the engineering environment, all the way into lifecycle services. And so it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 IO system or 100,000 IO system, there's elements of adaptive that will be used. And so when we modularize engineering packs, when we virtualize the environment that we're working on, when we deploy everything from a cloud base, it's really scalable. And so that's the intent of it, is that we really serve all of our markets, because as you know, we go to market and we work directly with end users, we work directly with EPCs, we work directly with OEMs. They all have different needs at different times in a project. And we wanted to make adaptive execution scalable so that it can have an impact no matter what size the project is.
Now, if I recall properly from the launch, 40% of capital expenditure reduction is expected. Delivery schedules expect to be compressed by up to 30%. Those are some huge numbers, if large or small companies. Now, how does adaptive execution can help some of the companies thrive and diversify their energy mix, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, look, the nice thing about the business that I have the pleasure to lead at ABB is that a couple years ago, we combined power generation, our water business, some of our industrial businesses together with oil, gas, chem and refining, et cetera. And so we have the whole end-to-end value chain. And what you see with a lot of our customers is that with the energy transition, they're moving from maybe just being a carbon-based company to renewables and to integrated different types of energy sources. And so what we're doing is leveraging our application knowledge and our installed bases and everything to say, hey, we can be at any part of this energy transition. And so, I always say that it's easy to maybe stand on the sidelines and contest what's happening, or you can be involved in it and be in the game. And with adaptive execution, we're trying to help our customers on that journey. It doesn't happen overnight. The energy transformation and transition is going to take time, decades. For my working career, I'm pretty confident that carbon-based fuels will be the biggest energy source there is. But we need to help the customers migrate, and we learn together. I mean, that's the other thing about adaptive, is that it's not all in a box with a bow on it and the instructions all finely tuned. It's a journey that we're on, and we want to integrate the customer's opinions and needs and transitions and everything into that as we go. So that's why we're excited about it for the energy transition and how it can help speed, cost, schedule. These things are important. It doesn't matter what what kind of project you're doing, what size project you're doing. Speed, cost, and schedule are really important no matter what.
Thanks for touching on that. I guess the global disruptions, such as the demand for sustainable energy investments, and there's others like failing oil prices, challenges induced by current lockdowns, and so on in 2020. Can you comment a little bit about how does ABB support the energy company remotely, leveraging this new tool?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to learn from our brothers and sisters there in ABB. In our marine business, for example, they've been doing a lot with remote collaboration, remote monitoring, even control, diagnostic, preventative things in the marine industry for years and years and years. And so most of the ships out there that are the working vessels are connected back to an ABB collaborative operations center. And we're talking about things around currents, winds, fuel consumptions, preventative maintenance, bearings, et cetera. And so we're learning from that, and we're using that in our industries. And I think what you're seeing now is that the customers, the barriers to connectivity are going to go down. It was previously that IT would say, hey, no one's connecting to anything, et cetera. And I think now what you're seeing is that some connectivity is required, because when we can't mobilize resources, Germany just went into a lockdown for the next 30 days. Getting resources in and out of the country, especially with the right application knowledge or the right skill sets, et cetera, it's tougher. And so what can we do to connect to it? And so we've got programs and technology that is part of adaptive and part of our service offerings that allows us to connect to those sites. It can be a connection all the time. It can be an on-demand connection. It can be a readout only. And so there's a lot of variety there in terms of being able to do things remotely and really help the customer tune a process, troubleshoot something, configure something, whatever it may be, in different ways that we can operate, still meeting their cybersecurity needs, because that's obviously a humongous concern for ourselves and our customers. And so I think that what we're going to see is an exponential uptick in remote accessibility and kind of some of the policies around that with our customers.
Appreciate the insights. And I saw firsthand, I had the opportunity to visit the Collaborative Center in Milan when it launched a couple of years ago. Yeah. Quite impressed, and new ways to reduce cost and schedule and manage risk for major projects.
That center in Milan, actually, the one that you were at, recently we installed a barrier protection system for Venice to help it from flooding. And so ABB's control system is the brains behind the solution. And they had an event where a storm came in just about a week or two ago. The waters rose, the barrier system went up, and it did protect Venice from the flood. And it was monitored and done from that collaborative operations center. And so that's a perfect real life example of where the technology is not something we're just talking about on PowerPoint, because that's easy to do. It's actually something that's being deployed.
Thanks for bringing context to it. And I only wish we've had that system in Louisiana just we
needed it in Houston a couple of years ago where I live, for sure. But yeah, I think the sustainability thread is one that's really important to us. So where we can have an impact, whether it's in hydro on the water side, whether it's in renewables, offshore wind, whether it's in something for like a big water project we just won in Singapore. These are all great ways where we're deploying technology and there's a societal benefit. And so for us, that's a total win-win for us at ABB.
Got it. Thank you for that. Now, looking at, I spent 20 years in automation, and from the outside, it looks like the adaptive execution has a strong component in the automation. Are there plans to expand areas? I think you've touched a little bit on electrification, but any other areas?
Yeah, I mean, it is based in automation. I mean, that's our core business. That's what we do across the industries that we serve. So there's certainly digital elements that flow into it. But then we see, if you go back a couple of years, a lot of the major end user customers were blending together their I&C departments, electrification, all these groups into one. And so EPCs, we've seen the same thing, where they used to be different worlds and they didn't really talk to each other, but now they realize that there is a big interdependency upon the electrical system to the automation system and how you run and operate and optimize a facility. Energy management, a huge deal now. Energy efficiency, really important in terms of sustainability. the beauty of ABB is that we offer both sides of that equation. And so absolutely it's automation based, but it does roll right into power management to bringing a digital element to electrification, which I think is really important. And then connecting that to the telecoms piece, which is all the infrastructure, the fiber optics, security, CCTV, all of those things. You have to look at the total solution for the customer. And that's why we think that ABB has a unique position in this market to really be able to cut across those three offerings.
Brendan, thank you so much for the insights. I want to close with one question, perhaps. I know I've asked around the business model. As you know, in industrial IoT, there is cost of hardware is approaching zero, cost of extracting it is approaching zero, as opposed to when we start our careers. And there's this new business model changed, moved towards large CapEx to an OpEx. Any plans around that area with the adoptive?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be creative and flexible. There's a lot of pressure on our industries about capital costs and what could you put into operational costs. So what could you do as a service, something as a service, or some sort of different leasing models or different things. And so all of that goes into what we're looking at through adaptive execution. You know, it's not a one size fits all. You asked at the beginning of the interview about large customers versus small customers. What an ExxonMobil may want is a lot different than what a smaller chemical producer may want that's got a much smaller balance sheet and other things. And so we need to have the agility to or flexibility to modify how we deploy the solution. And I think you're going to see the business models where risk sharing is starting to be looked at. So a pay for performance or a software as a service or these kind of things. I think you're going to see more and more of that. But you know, that's got to be done collaboratively. We don't have the answers only from the vendor side. The customer, the EPC, all of these people have to sit in the rooms together with us. And we want to deliver a message to the market that we're flexible in terms of the commercial models. At the end of the day, we want to provide a solution that makes the customer's operations safer, smarter, more sustainable. And we have flexibility in how we want to try and deploy those solutions.
Brendan, thanks for the insights and openness to kind of take any topics or any question that came with you. So appreciate it. And we look forward to having you back. We have a number of events, one focused on energy in March. Look forward to have you back. We're several thousand people in attendance. So.
Yeah, look, thanks for giving ABB an opportunity. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk about adaptive execution. And I hope the viewers find some interesting points. And look, we're here to help be a part of the industry and be a part of these kind of events. So as you have opportunities, ABB, myself, we would love to participate.
Thank you. And if you're watching this, yes, leverage the hashtag that you'll see on the screen, whether on LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube, and we'll get the appropriate subject matter expert to answer the question. If you address them to Brendan, happy to chase the team at
absolutely, absolutely. We'll route them to the appropriate people, to people much smarter than myself, to make sure that that we get the answers to the questions.